Hello, it's Nemo here. So this may not come as much of a shock to people that know me, but for those of you that don't know me, I have suffered pretty much my entire life from binge eating and putting on weight. It's been going on basically my entire adult life for about the last 20 years. And I go through vicious cycles of binge eating, gaining loads of weight, and then doing lots of different diets and strict exercise to try and lose the weight. But the issue is that those cycles of eating healthy and losing weight never really last very long, and then I'm just back again, binge eating, gaining loads of weight. My weight fluctuates so much year to year. I'm a proper yo-yo dieter, and like I say, I've really struggled. Food has always been a massive comfort for me. I use it to sort of mask my issues and comfort myself. And anytime I'm stressed or bored or feeling any sort of emotion that I don't like, I've always just turned to food. I always have. But I realised with the introduction of these new GLP-1 medications that maybe there might be a medicinal answer out there for me, and therefore I've decided that I am going to give them a go. I'm going to give the GLP-1 medications a go, primarily semaglutide. I'm going to take it in the form of Wegovy tablets. I'm choosing tablets not really because of a fear of needles or anything, but more just the fact that I feel like pills are going to fit into my routine a little bit better. And also, I've not researched this isn't fact, but a few people that I know that are on the jabs have actually said that towards the end of the week that they take the jab, they start to get some of them cravings back quite a bit. So I thought, that would be quite disastrous for me, really. So I thought maybe I'll just give the pills a go. They're really new here in the UK. So yeah, that was my thinking behind why I'm taking the pills instead of the jab. It's quite simple. It's just those reasons. So I've basically decided I'm going to document the journey. I'm going to try and make weekly videos talking about, any side effects I've got and how they are affecting me, whether they're working or not. And, just give you guys as much information as I can. So that's what I'm going to do, hopefully. So please stick around and watch the videos if you want any information. But please also do remember, like the disclaimer said at the beginning of this video, I'm not a doctor or medical professional in any way, shape or form. So these are just going to be my experiences, as well as an introduction video to the series and telling people why I'm going to be doing these videos. I also wanted to list some of the things I'm going to be doing before I start taking the pills, because I knew I was taking the pills. There was certain things I did to put my mind at ease and sort of to prepare myself. So basically I'm going to list those now. So number one, the first thing that I did was that I spoke to my doctor. Now, disclaimer, I'm not actually getting the drugs through the NHS here in the UK or through my doctor, but I went and saw the doctor, and luckily my doctor was very good and gave me lots of tests, just to see if these drugs are suitable for me and see if there's anything hidden that, these pills might affect, basically. And yeah, they did lots of tests, told me that, because of my weight and health issues that may come down the line, it's probably a good idea for me to, try and combat the weight, and that these medicines, they do have risks, but they, in a lot of cases do seem to work. So that was good, and that was the first thing I did. So, it's quite recommended. I do recommend going to your doctors or healthcare professionals and getting some tests done and just speaking to them. See if you can get it through your doctor first of all, because it's always going to be good, no matter how you do it, to make sure you do it somewhere where you can speak to a clinician ongoing as you go through it, to get help. And number two, what I did was I went to the opticians. Now, the reason I went to the opticians, losing my sight and having sight problems has always been massive fear of mine. And, there are some eye issues, although, very, very rare side effects. There are some eye issues you can get when you're on these drugs, apparently, especially on the jab form. But again, please do your research. Don't take what I'm saying as fact. So I went to the opticians because they can do something, they can test something called your cup to disc ratio, which can give them a very good insight into whether you're likely to have any of the major eye issues on semaglutide. So again, that was another thing I did, and luckily mine all came back okay. So that was another tick off the box, and another thing that put my mind at rest, basically. And the third thing I did was I decided to be realistic about my expectations. And, you know, I believe from my research and what I've read, that a lot of issues that you get on these pills come from the real rapid weight loss. So I made a decision to, number one, clean up my diet a bit, just so that my stomach got used to it. You know, stomach issues are quite a common side effect on these drugs. So I didn't want to, you know, go straight into the diet from eating really rough foods that are bad for my stomach and jump straight into tablets which are really bad for my stomach. So I cleaned up my diet a tiny bit. You know, I did struggle with that. That's the reason I'm on these drugs, or going on these drugs. But yeah, so I cleaned up my diet a little bit, and sort of just mentally prepared myself, wrote out, you know, realistic expectations, you know, to lose 1 or 2 pound a week. I don't want to be one of these people who loses an absolute ton. And that sort of works perfectly into my final point, which was that I tried to get my body back used to weightlifting again. You might not know it looking at me, but I used to go gym quite a bit, and then but I always had breaks at the same time. You know, whenever I was having a break from my diet, I would seem to sort of have a break from the gym. But I didn't want my joint. You know, you need to work out on these pills. Really do take, you know, up your protein and do weightlifting and resistance exercises, just to try and keep the muscle mass. A lot of the reason I believe, again, just believe myself, that a lot of these people look quite gaunt when they are on the pills and jabs for a long time is the fact that they lose a lot of muscle and stuff and a lot of weight quite quickly. So I started getting back into weightlifting a little bit, you know, gently easing myself into it so I didn't jump straight back into it, you know, and wanted to get my joints used to it, basically. So that was another thing I did. And just, you know, the final point, which I think I touched on a little bit on one of the previous points, but was that I just wanted to make sure that I knew kind of what I was getting into, and you know, just wanted to have a think about whether this is the right decision for me. And I realised, you know, without going into my personal life too much, you know, I gave up my job a year ago to look after my dad, who's elderly. He's 76 now, and who has Parkinson's disease and requires 24/7 care. And instead of getting a carer in, I made the decision, because it would be best for him, for me to give up work and look after him. So, you know, I have somebody that I need to be in semi-good physical shape for, you know, to help lift him and look after him. So, you know, that was a good motivation for me to go on these pills. And also just the fact that if I carry on down this road of putting on the amount of weight I've been putting on, I'm going to end up with real bad health issues. And I think the side effects and issues that I might have from these tablets are probably going to be nowhere near what's going to, you know, be down the road if I carry on being morbidly obese. Let's be frank about it, you know. That's something that I came to realise. I was worried like hell about the side effects, but it's like, I'm on the verge of being pre-diabetic. I'm really obese. Like, my ideal weight should be around, maybe even lower, if I can remember straight, around the 10 stone mark, and I weigh 16 stone. So yeah, so that's a decision that I thought, you know, it makes sense for me. When I weigh up the road I'm traveling down, you know, I need some sort of roadblock. I need a tool just to help me. That's what I want to use Wegovy as, is a tool alongside diet and exercise, because a lot of the time I'll do well. I'm a good dieter. I know how to lose weight. I've been doing it for so long that I know how to lose a good amount of weight, and a healthy amount of weight. But I always just come off. So I want to use Wegovy as like a tool. So if I ever look as if I'm going to fall off that cliff again, you know, it just might be a helping hand to get back up. So I do hope you come back and watch the videos if they're of any interest to you. Like I say, I'm going to try and put out 1 a week. I think that's a good rate, because with these tablets as well, you start on a 1.5 dose, which is a very, very small dose. A lot of people feel nothing on it and have no effect from it, for a month, and then you work up to 4. and then a month later 9, then a month later 25. You know, some people might get to 9 and say, oh, this is good, this is perfect, I'm losing the right amount of weight, no side effects, and they stay on 9. So, you know, I don't know where my journey is going to take me, but that's what it usually looks like for people on these tablets. So I'm hoping I can show you, you know, week to week and month to month, you know, show you my experiences, and hope in some way maybe it helps, even if it's just for a bit of relatability. Is that a word? Hello, it's Nemo again. Sorry about that. The camera decided to die just as I was about to say goodbye. So anyway, yeah, hope you do get something from these future videos that I record, and I will catch you on the first video then on week 1. Goodbye!